Welcome to Summer Nats 2026. I'm joined with Jack Harrison, aka the winner, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Congratulations. Show me your trophy. Yeah, dude. If you watched any of our burn yard content from like SEMA and all that stuff, you've probably seen Jack's truck. Absolute insanity. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
From Australia. I'm 26. I'm from Sydney, New South Wales. I'm a mechanic.
And you're big. You do summer nats out there. You've been out there doing that.
Yeah. Like the last 2 years, I've literally traveled the whole of America, end to end.
And then now here, the start of Summer Nats USA.
Yeah, first ever Summer Nats.
First
winner.
one,
yeah.
And you won it too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your truck.
So the story of this, so I've had like a bunch of other Hiluxes and then I've sold them and then sort of upgraded. So it first started off, the first original Hilux, like I bought with my tax money that I got back from the government.
Nice.
So I started off as a V6 and then I did a couple skids, blew that up, and then I sold it, and then I ended up buying this one here for, I think it was like $250. And I think I was like 17 at the time, like built it in the dirt in my parents' backyard. It was like the engine hoist was literally getting bogged in the dirt and I had like a crowbar getting it out.
Trying to get the wheels out of the holes.
I literally learned everything on this truck. It's gone through so many phases. Very budget orientated, still a standard bottom end iron block 6 litre, standard crank, standard rods, pistons.
Before we get into that, this thing has a lot of sentimental value with you. It's been with you since you said 17, almost 10 years you've had this truck. $250 is insane too, because dude, these trucks right now, bro, you can't find these in America.
Yeah,
like they're like $6 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand. When you originally built this truck, was your intention to do burnouts?
Yeah. That was the main intention. I wanted to get into drifting, but it was definitely a lot harder to get in as a sport in Australia because it's a much smaller sort of sport. So then straight to burnouts. Were
you thinking LS for drifting when you were first getting involved with drifting?
Probably like the cheapest, most reliable option in Australia to go. Yeah.
Gotcha. So then it just turns into, okay, we're not drifting anymore, full burnout truck. You're slapping an LS into this tiny little, you guys call it a Hilux. In America, this was actually my very first truck. So we call it the pickup.
Yeah.
And you guys had it the Hilux. And you picked this platform because you said it's affordable. It doesn't look very affordable anymore. What did you tell me about this thing, dude?
It's still very much on a budget. So
really?
I think the engine, it started off as a $450 junkyard LS like it does. Standard rods and pistons, I've literally just opened up the bearing gap, ring gap for boost. It's just got like Michigan Motorsports cam kit with valve springs, oil pump, very simple stuff. And it's got a Vortex side mount blower and a bunch of stuff to keep it cool. That's how you keep a burnout car alive. Like it's not working really.
Dude, I try to tell everybody that if you can keep the engine lubricated and you can keep the water cold, you'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll live forever. I run an E85, which is very unheard of in the burnout scene. Everyone says it won't work, you need methanol, but
why do they say it won't work?
Just because burnouts get so hot, you know, it's 2 minutes of continuous like boost, you know, things get hot.
But if you keep your lines away from all the heat, then it should be okay, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's okay. You got a trophy right there.
Yeah.
E85 is pretty fun. I call it the poor man's race fuel. It's my favorite fuel. Yeah. I have it in everything.
You literally get it anywhere. You don't need to worry about fuel.
Dude, anywhere.
Yeah.
What kind of horsepower coming out of this thing, being that you're supercharged?
So it's around 600 horsepower. So it's super low, conservative timing to obviously keep it reliable and safe.
Right. Personally, you stay in the 6s, you're golden.
Yeah.
You get into the 7s, you start to strain stuff.
Yeah, enough to do everything you want. And then it doesn't, well, it hits limiter aggressive, but any more power, it's just going to want to cut more power, which is more shock to everything.
You've got this thing tuned with a crazy rev limiter.
Yeah.
Intentional or?
That just happens naturally. No matter what I do to the rev limiter, like I change it a bunch of times, it still does the same thing.
Does the same, because it sounds insane with all the extra piping.
I think it's a lot to do with the 8-to-1s, yeah.
Yeah, you got the 8-to-1 collector up front, and then you have these like, I don't even know, like resonator tubes or something?
2 to 4 to 6. It just happened like that. I literally had a whole different idea, and then I just started putting pipes together. I just wanted something wild and something that's never really been done.
When the thing rolls up to the line and you're looking at it head on, you're kind of like, what the hell is that thing? It looks like a spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
And then it lights off and fire's coming out of here, fire's coming out down there. This thing's insane. Transmission.
It's got a 2-speed power glide. I think they're like in the 1960s or whatever.
Yeah, old school stuff.
Yep.
That's like drag racing stuff.
Yeah.
But you're just putting it in second anyways, right?
Yeah, first off the line and then straight to second, and then it stays in there for the whole skid.
And you just leave it there because you're not running anything like no big wheels or tires. No. I know you got your KMCs up here.
Yeah. With
the bead locks, and then you don't typically run something like this in the rear. You're always on steel wheels?
Yeah, yeah. Normally,
why is that?
Normally steelies. Mainly just for like the cost factor, and then also the grip as well. Like they'll obviously have a lot of grip. So in the pad, it's obviously got a lot of rubber down. So your front tires pick up rubber. So then you lose your front grip. So you don't, it's not like drifting where you need a bunch of rear grip. You still need grip to make the car do what it needs to do. Right. But you need a lot less, yeah.
There's a rule too with your burnouts, right? Like you can't run aluminum wheels, or if you do, you can't pop the tires or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. That's just because they can explode, obviously, yeah, because of the wheel speed. There's been parts where like they've exploded and like taken out the whole bed, and yeah, could literally kill somebody.
Jeez. Rear end, what do you have going on back here? It looks like a lot of stuff.
So it's got an air to water up the front to obviously keep the intake air temps cool. This is for extra coolant capacity, as obviously it'll take longer.
This is an expansion tank?
Yeah, so it'll take longer to heat up, as well as the rear mount radiator. It's got like the aluminum pipes which heat soak and get rid of temperature. Got the fuel tank, and then that's the air to water tank. It's pretty big.
That's huge.
So then I don't need to like take ice everywhere. I just run straight water. So it's got the capacity to keep everything cool. Just simplify things so I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff around with me.
Because a lot of guys run these like cool boxes, but then they're pretty small, but you have to dump ice.
They'll put ice in them, yeah.
And they melt fast anyway.
Yeah, like 20 seconds, the ice will be fully melted anyway, yeah.
Right, and you're doing, roughly on a burnout, you're doing about 2 minutes?
Minute 30, roughly, yeah.
A minute 30.
Yeah.
So you customize the whole bed, like all this is all fiberglass outside and then a full frame you built in here?
Yeah, I made the frame, and then it's all on like really thin round bar. So it's like similar to drifting. You hit a wall, it just puts in, and then after the skid I can just push it back out with my foot, and it's like back to how it was.
Yeah, just the quick little rods in there, standoffs, tubs. These are probably pretty thick.
Yeah, yep.
Because you got to keep the tire in there, you don't want it to come through and damage anything.
Yep. And then we also got water meth. So I only done that sort of in the last year or two, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done. Everyone was so against putting water meth on the car, but it's made every single temperature like great.
So I don't know anything about water meth. So what exactly happens?
It gets sprayed into the supercharger inlet. So obviously I got the intercooler sandwiched in between the manifold, so it doesn't cool the supercharger, it cools after. Okay. So it's pretty much straight into the impeller blade. So it cools the blower before the intercooler.
Before it goes in.
And it also adds like water methanol, so it doesn't spark knock as easy.
What temperatures are you seeing in like your coolant system?
Coolant system, I think it gets to like 180 Fahrenheit by the end of the skid. So super cool. Not even up to operating temp.
180?
Yeah.
Operating temperature on like it's iron block, right?
Yeah, iron block, yeah.
210 degrees, roughly. 210 to like 220-ish. They're kind of in that area. So 180 is like, the thing's not even warmed up yet.
Yeah.
Which obviously your oils are all warm. Everything else is like up to temperature. Yeah. But your coolant temperature is because of your system. Yeah. Keep it cold, keep it lubricated. It'll live forever.
Keep it alive, yeah.
And you've managed to do it. 600 horsepower. It's like the perfect setup. Do you have anything on the inside?
It's on life support in there. I wired it.
Is it?
I wired it myself.
Yeah.
So it's got the coils inside because obviously I got all the pipes, all the heat. So then my mate bought a whole roll of spark plug wire, and then we divided it up by 8 and literally cut it. So it's got like extra long plug light like wires. Yeah. So then if they melt in there, we can just chop off the end, shorten them, and it will go again.
Dude, that's freaking awesome.
We run a Holy HP system. That's also a new addition, which is extremely well, because I was going through a lot of motors and I was on a standard ECU. So now I data log, and after each run, I look at the data log to make sure everything's like perfect.
Watching the numbers, seeing if anything's moving around that's not supposed to. And then you got the engine shoved way back in there, so you got to cut up your firewall in here.
Yeah, so it's mid-mounted. We had to run a Perspex window because it goes through the front window. That was mainly because of the weight, like get the weight
Further back.
Yeah, into the middle of the car. It obviously handles better, as well as the 8-to-1. So I have room for the 8-to-1 exhaust.
This thing's sick. Do you have any like steering mods on it at all? Being that you
Yeah,
wanted
so-
to originally drift.
Yeah, so originally Hilux comes out with torsion bars, which is a long bar that attaches from the lower control arm, goes to the middle of the car, and it's a long bar that pretty much turns as
that's how we slam them.
That's your suspension.
You
so
put
you
a wrench on it and turn it all
so
the way
yeah,
down.
you can lower it for free, but obviously it's not the greatest. It has a bunch of body roll.
And it seems like you have a lot of driving ability under your belt. Like
I've got a lot of seat time.
You're a wheel man.
I'd hate to imagine how many sets of tires I've actually gone through.
Dude, it was a blast. Got the trophy. You won Summer Nats USA 2026. This man can wheel. Sick, dude. Was that throttle hang?
Yeah. Lucky that didn't happen out there.
Holy shit. Oh, Jack, I'll go, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, is anybody going to get that? You know?
Somebody get my throttle
Yeah.
stuck.